What's up and welcome to Idle Insights, a show where each week I, Treavor Bettis, talk to interesting people about idle champions and Dungeons and Dragons. And joining me this week is Violet Miller. Hello!
That's me. Hi, Violet Miller, aka Distracted Elf on the internet mostly.
Fantastic name, by the way. Distracted
Yeah.
Elf. Perfect. Fantastic.
So the name, it's funny you mentioned it, but the name actually originally comes from a gimmick where I would cosplay an elf on stream, every stream.
Mhm.
And eventually I dropped that off because like that's so much effort.
A lot of effort.
Oh, sorry. Can I swear? Am I allowed to swear on this show?
Yeah, we keep it to PG-13. Chat be cool.
All
but
right.
no, it's so bad. I didn't even catch it. And that is the show energy you're getting today, folks. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Violet, if folks don't know who you are you for those fine folks who may not know?
So in general, I'm a Twitch streamer. Or have been for the last decade or so. I feel like an ancient, crusty elder when it comes to being on the internet. But I've done a lot of tabletop RPG stuff. I used to do a whole bunch of work for Roll20 in terms of like being on the Roll20 Presents shows and eventually running them when that swapped over for a little while. Then I've done a lot of AP stuff on my own channel as well. I used to do a bunch of Pathfinder. I used to do a bunch of D&D. And I'm a consummate video game nerd and just general internet denizen, full-time Twitch streamer person. And Garwar in chat makes a very valid point. I used to be one of the like top 3 Dawngate streamers, which is a game that Gara also used to be highly involved in.
Okay, yeah, I saw that post. I was like, I don't know what Dawngate is.
Yeah, so Dawngate is an ancient MOBA that was
ancient.
It was like 2014, 2015. Like it feels ancient.
2014's ancient now.
Yeah, on the internet it is. But I used to do that. Yeah. So.
I googled it and I found a cat person with a giant fish around their neck. That looks cool.
My alert noises on my channel are still audio from.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's fantastic. And you're also the creator of Ishi, who we're going to talk a bit about.
Of course, I should have mentioned that.
No, it's okay. Hey, it was saving the build up, you know. But before we talk about Ishi, I do want to ask my my icebreaker question: is how'd you get into D&D?
Ooh, how'd I get into D&D? Well, I think the first D&D I was exposed to, I was probably like 11 or 12, playing like original 3rd edition.
Yeah.
In like, you know, sort of playing the game ways, you know, as you do when you're 11 or 12. And then, well, I always liked it, right? And then Pathfinder sort of became the game that like my groups played as I got older.
They're like, we want more of this 3.5.
I was sort of consummate GM for a lot of that because I was the person who really wanted to play the game, and I had to like recruit everybody to come and do the thing. Which is, you know, yeah. A lot of people feel that way, I feel like, when they're consummate GMs. And then I got into streaming Pathfinder, like Pathfinder 1. Back when sort of the AP space was just beginning on Twitch. I don't even remember when that was, but you know, years ago.
We were just saying how like 2014 was ancient, but I was just thinking like, how long ago was like
even
Critical
before,
Role?
Look, no, way before Critical Role. Okay,
and that was still a long time ago now.
Yeah. Like years before Critical Role was a twinkle in anybody's eye production wise.
You made it a hotline.
Pathfinder AP stuff, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've kind of always been a fantasy nerd, so D&D is like an easy pick, right?
I didn't get into D&D until I was in my early 20s, and I've often wondered like what it would have been like if I tried to get into it when I was a teenager, like 11 or 12 or something, and it probably would have been the same. I didn't even play Pokemon correctly. There's no way I would have played D&D correctly.
The great thing about it is like really all you need is imagination and roll some dice and decide, right? Like the rest of the rules are kind of irrelevant in the grand scheme of like whatever whatever you want to do with it.
There's a handful of people watching this right now. It's like the rules are everything.
Look, when you're 12 or 13, that is
Exactly.
just not the case. I'm not going to do all that math. Come on.
Nah. For math
I
was
still
not
don't
my
even
friend.
want to do all that math.
There's times where I'm running a game and like players will give me damage and I'm sitting there with the numbers and I just go, math! And then I'm like trying to invoke it.
But does it hit, Trevor? Does it hit?
Fortunately, it does, and now I have to subtract these big numbers from these big numbers, and I don't want to do that.
Oh, it's time for the layer action. Here it comes.
Oh, well, see, and you brought up Pathfinder. My friends, we had a game of that going for a while, and we got up into the high level, and we were like, "This is Mathfinder now," because the rogue
Trevor,
needs a calculator.
I have a question for you, and that's what was your first D&D character ever?
Oh my god, that's never actually been asked on the show. My first D&D character was it was 3.5.
Okay.
I was very much against playing D&D, and then my friend told my wife, "Hey, you can make a pirate," and she went, "Hey, we're gonna play D&D," and so
Oh yeah, pirates. Okay.
Yep. And we were going through characters with my friend Matt, who knew everything there was to know about 3.5, and we're going through the classes. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm playing Dragon Age 2 right now. I want to do that. And he's like, I don't, okay,
what does that mean?
Okay. And so we ended up on Sorcerer. And what I essentially did, I named the character Jace Logan. And Jace, because I also loved Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah, and read into that immediately. Jace, yep.
And then Logan was the name of my character from Dragon Age 2, because all of them were Hawk, but his name was Logan Hawk. Yeah. And so I made that character, and now I've kept him as an NPC throughout the years, to the point that like he became the king of Neverwinter, and now just shows up to screw things up.
Nice. You gotta love when you can enshrine a character like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just a throwback.
I try to do that with as many of my players' characters as I can, because like it all takes place in one continuity, and so like I'll have their old player characters show up to give them a quest and stuff. If you have
consistent players playing multiple campaigns, that in itself is like,
yes. Like it's not all of them, but the few that are there, they're like, yeah, I get that reference. I know, I see where that was. But we're not here to talk about my first character. We're here to talk about Ishi.
Okay. Right.
Who is Ishi?
So Ishi was made as a character for my when I was playing in the Roll20 Presents game. There's Roll20 Presents Tomb of Annihilation. And Ishi was made as my character for that. Originally paired up with my friend Andrew's character, whose name was Little Fox, and who was like a furball barbarian, basically. She was sort of meant to be the Rocket to the furball Groot. You know what I mean?
Okay.
In terms of vibe, like Andrew's character is like very soft spoken, very gentle, until they're like super angry and killing things. And then I would just talk incessantly about whatever and everything, and very enthusiastic character, very like, so they're a little kobold, you know. And the goal was, there's this little monster, you know, this little quote unquote monster, who actually is like kind of heroic and like wants to be a good guy and like show that they're super strong and tough and badass. But people don't give them a chance, you know.
Yeah.
So they're gonna do it themselves, and that was sort of the backstory for Ishi.
I did see someone in chat says Ishi knows all the crocodile lore.
Oh, so that comes up from so there's a riddle or like a story. I can't remember exactly what it is. By the way, Ishi's voice sound like this all the time. So I would talk like this the whole time playing her. She would sound like this. She would be like so excited all the time.
I'm sure that didn't hurt your voice at all.
That was great. It was super healthy for my throat. But so the crocodile lore thing, there's like a riddle or a story that gets told in Chult, you know, in the setting, about like a crocodile that ferries a man across a river, and the deal is that the man then has to ferry the crocodile across the world. You know what I mean? Like you do me a favor and I'll do you a favor, but the favor I ask of you is like way better than the favor that I did you, sort of thing. And I used to bring it up all the time in character because I would just talk about how the crocodile was like super awesome and like reptile, solidarity. Everybody's like, oh, this is a story about like, being careful what you say or whatever. And Ishi's like, no way, this is a story about how crocodiles are awesome. And that sort of came up a lot as a thing. As like there'd be a dead silence or there'd be an awkward silence, and Ishi would be like, you guys heard the story of the crocodile and the man who crossed the river? And it's like the 5th time I've told it on stream, but like it's a new NPC who hasn't heard it, but the rest of the party is like, oh god, the crocodile thing. Yeah. So that's
I love that. That's been I love a recurring joke like that in stream games. I just sometimes there's ones that overdo it and whatnot, but like that sort of thing where it's just like, hey, this is a new NPC. Have you heard this story?
But the thing is, the story would change a lot, right? Because like
you did a Joker style with it.
Yeah. So the original is like a man needs to cross a river and he asks the crocodile to take him across, and the crocodile says, sure, I'll do it, except for the favor. But then I would add stuff like, and then the crocodile, like a smart, super cool, awesome crocodile, was like, yeah, of course, I'll do it. But then you, dumbass human, have to do some stuff for me. You know what I mean? And I would just keep adding like descriptors of how the crocodile was awesome and the human was terrible. And they would get like significantly more and more like ridiculous as time went on. And people eventually were like, what even is this story? Like, why do you love this crocodile so much?
Oh my gosh, that's so good. So you were talking about there for a bit, like how this character is supposed to be like the rocket to another character's Groot.
Yeah.
Like was that kind of the main thought going into creating the character?
So when I was making Ishi, I was like, I want to play a kobold because I played a kobold warlock in our previous campaign. And I knew I was going to play a kobold, and kobolds are like a big part of my like channel identity. People, like me and kobolds. I'm distracted elf, but I have many kobold associates.
It may make you happy to know.
Related, and I love kobolds.
It may make you happy to know I used to write a webcomic for C&E that was about champions turned into kobolds.
Yeah. Well, that was my warlock character. They were an elf who got turned into a kobold.
Yeah.
So that happened. But anyway, yeah, so I wanted to play a kobold, and I was looking at the like, I think I was maybe the last person to make a character, or we hadn't really thought about, I couldn't remember exactly how it came about. But I was like, what if I made this little swashbuckling dork, this like total non-fighter fighter. And then when we rolled her stats, she rolled so well, like insanely heroically well. Like her stats are nuts.
I'm actually going because I remember seeing them earlier and be like, those are a little high.
Yeah, so they're rolled stats and they are badass.
I loved the pause of censoring there.
Anyway,
those are good stats.
Yeah. So she was a fighter to start, and then I took some levels of rogue, I think, like way later. It was like Fantastic. 5 levels of fighter and then 3 levels of swashbuckler, I think. And we kind of got to like level 11, I want to say, like somewhere down the line. Yeah, I wanted to make this character, and I think Andrew jumped on and was like, well, I'm going to make this quiet character so that I can be in the background of this really loud character, and we can sort of like put them forward as a duo. And in the initial episode, do you know the way the Tomb of Annihilation starts? Like,
I've run it.
Yeah, so you get sent to Chult to like do stuff. So when we started, we were in a jail cell.
Okay.
And then the lead NPC guy who like directs you comes up to me and Little Fox in this jail cell and goes like, some people are coming. I need you to show them around and you're gonna do this favor for me because you stole something from my shop or whatever. It's some setup that was like, we're already here. So Ishi sort of became like this guide in Chult to the rest of the party as like a person who had wanted to be a hero here, obviously there are other guides and NPC guides that we meet later, but she was sort of the point of contact initially, and then became a party member, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Starting position for her, because she's just like a little underfoot nonsense character to begin with.
But I mean, she's got a fantastic look. So I mean,
yeah. Let me tell you about that.
Oh,
so I was like, what does she look like when I'm conceptualizing the character? Like, who is this character? And I'm like, well, her cloak is probably like torn and like tied around her neck, and she's kind of got this hat with like a terrible broken feather in it, like musketeer style. And I was thinking about the backstory of that, and so the backstory is that there's a crest on her cloak that's sort of ripped in half. At the bottom, because it's actually a cloak she stole from a guy that she beat in a duel, along with her sword and her hat, which are both from this guy that she beat up. And she didn't actually beat him up. He tripped and like killed himself basically by accident when she challenged him. But then she built her whole reputation on like, I'm the greatest duelist in the whole of Faerun. I defeated Herschel von Saberberg in single combat. See, look at my stuff.
That is extremely kobold. Like
that's kind of like how it started. She sort of like decided she was the greatest duelist in the world and inherited all this guy's stuff.
Genuinely, like my two favorite types of characters is either a kobold with an ego or a goblin with an ego. Yeah. Fantastic characters all around.
Yeah, and there are a lot of like, I threatened something that is way too strong for me to fight situations in that campaign. One of the weirdest ones was like almost managed to 1v1 a Hydra in that campaign, just like straight up. That almost happened.
Okay, yeah, that is a lot for a kobold to take on. Yeah,
look, her stats carried her quite a way. I will say she rolled very good stats. But it is very much a fake it till you make it story for Ishi. Yeah, like I'm not really that strong, but if I pretend I'm strong, then you have to agree if I beat you that I'm strong. Sort of stuff.
I like title by default. I like that.
Yeah.
So tell me about the party that traveled with Ishi, and like what was that kind of relationship that she had with them?
So we had 3 party members, like me and 3 party members. We had Little Fox, who was the Furbolg like rock the Furbolg Groot to Ishi's rocket. Then we had a Triton cleric. Oh my gosh, the names are going to escape. It's been a while. Okay.
Oh, it's fair. That's fair.
Names are going to escape me. There's Triton cleric played by Blue Jay. And a human sorcerer played by Dave the Human. Okay. And they were the party dynamic was mostly the Triton doesn't want to be a hero and complains about a lot of stuff that's going on and adventure, and everybody else goes, come on, man, let's go. Like, there was a lot. Malik and Arcturus. Yes, Malik was the sorcerer and Arcturus was the Triton. And
I also like that they said the versus the Hydra Dark Souls level 1v1.
Yeah. And our Triton cleric was a cleric of Ishtisha, the like water god person. And I think our sorcerer was a dragon-blooded sorcerer. Our sorcerer got very, very trigger happy once they had fireball, as you do. And I feel like a lot of it was either Ishi going, come on, let's go, like drag the party out of somewhere, or the party was not friendly to each other. There was a lot of arguing with our party, but like in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean? Like which I think is fine. But Malik and Arcturus had been sort of hired to come and deal with the soul issue that is like the central thing with Tomb of Annihilation. And then Little Fox and I were sort of already here, and now we get a chance to be heroes. And Little Fox doesn't really care, but Ishi's like, I can be a hero? Hell yeah! And Little Fox goes because Ishi's going, sort of thing. So yeah, that was sort of the dynamic.
So was there a character arc for Ishi during this? Like, did she get to like kind of achieve some of her goals?
So I think a lot of the character arc for Ishi was the like really set to prove herself, like I want to be a hero. I've decided I'm going to be a hero. I'm going to solve this problem. I'm going to be a hero. And then everybody will have to respect me because even though I'm a kobold, I saved all their lives. You know what I mean? Like sort of thing. And a lot of my characters, Ishi included, are very like pick a misfit and then see what happens with them. Sometimes I play a lot of evil characters. Ishi is like one of the only ones that isn't.
Really
yeah.
interesting.
I play a lot of morally ambiguous characters. I have a Hexblade Warlock UNT Pureblood who would like to but Ishi sort of was a quintessential like scrappy hero in my mind. She had possession of the Ring of Winter for a brief period of time.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. So I can't remember that NPC's name at all.
Art December. Yeah.
There you go, Simber. So Simber and Ishi were like grudging frenemies because like she rescued him, but then he never paid her anything for it, and like there's this whole thing, and like she ended up in possession of like all of his gear while he was in prison. And then she had to give it back because like a good person would give that stuff back, right? But like I had that in my hands. The Ring of Winter was in my hands, and I gave it back. Yeah, artist and Dragonbait.
I don't think I've panicked more at a table than when a player said I put on the Ring of Winter. Thank God they were a paladin with high charisma.
Yeah, there was a lot of like, you must respect me, artist. You must respect me now. I saved your ass. Like, and then he never really did, but that's fine. Yeah, Artist Timber owes me money to this day. To this day.
You get that printed on a T-shirt. Just confuse everyone you walk by.
Artist Timber owes me money.
That's fantastic. And one of the reasons that we're talking about Ishi today is because Ishi got a new skin recently. I think we can put it up on the screen.
Yes.
Mythic Ishi.
It's beautiful.
Can you tell me a bit about this look?
Yeah, so when we were talking about skins for Ishi, the mythic version was something that people or like people had already done in terms of like for their characters for idol champions. And I was like, what would Ishi look like? What would Ishi wear or look like if they were level 20, like best version possible of Ishi? Like everybody knows they're a hero and look at them being as heroic as possible. And it keeps that ridiculous vibe of like a kobold idea of heroic.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But that like, they look like they have some respect, and they've got like the superhero thing going a little bit with the Zorro mask, right? Where it's like, the masked duelist, Ishi Snaggletooth, but like everybody knows it's Ishi.
But they still got a mask on.
Yeah, it's the only kobold who's like, who's got anywhere close to this guy. This is what Ishi would wear if artists paid the money that they owe. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I love it. Yeah, Mythic Ishi is available in the store right now, so you can have that fancy kobold looking awesome. I did want to ask, like, did you all finish Tomb of Annihilation?
So nominally, yes. There were some issues, like one of our players, the player of Little Fox, had some health issues like during the campaign. And so once we were in the tomb, we had another party member come in.
Okay.
I don't think we ever finished so much as we managed to leave without dying.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Which is it's a victory in and of itself. But like the campaign had some inconclusiveness to it.
Okay.
But I like to think Ishi was just like, screw this, I'm gonna go find Little Fox wherever they are, and we're gonna hook up and be heroes somewhere else again.
The soulmonger thing will sort itself out.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Whatever. We did almost start a fight with who's the lich in the floating rock?
Valendra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rolindra's Shadow Mantle or whatever.
I feel like she's always looking for a fight, though.
Yeah. Did almost start a fight with her, which was not ideal. We were a little bit too low level at the point where that happened.
That's fair.
Yeah, but the other thing with our party is we didn't go back to Chult very much. Like we basically just went like point to point to point to point, like through the jungle. Like it was very hex crawl. You know?
Oh yeah, I remember running that game. It was one of the last home games that like at my home that I ran, and like we put the map up with all those hexes on there and like tried to keep track of where they were and stuff. I'm like,
it's very cool.
It's very cool, but also I'm like, oh, so okay, this took a day to do.
I have heard that people have used Ishi as an NPC guide for their own campaign.
Oh, I love that.
In Chult, which I am so happy about, and welcome anybody to do if you wanna do that.
I love that. That's fantastic.
It's very funny to hear that, like, Ishi and Little Fox combo guide action going on somewhere for another party.
That's really cool. I mean, and they got their options of guides, and they pick Ishi and Little Fox.
So cool.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, my Tomb of Annihilation game had to wrap up quick because several of the players are moving away.
Oh no!
So like I was like, whoa, crap! We have like 2 sessions left. What do I do?
I mean, that dungeon is no joke.
Yeah. So what I did, Chris Perkins ran Tomb for Penny Arcade on stage, and he made it a joke where like they ended up going behind the scenes of the traps. and fought all the things that reset them, and I went, oh, I'm just gonna steal that. So like I just had them go through the back of the dungeon and then just end up at the Soulmonger.
It's a good move for sure.
Yeah,
but I mean, real life gets in the way of a lot of stuff.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And that's the thing that I like about this game is like you can have the story like change so that you can get that story still in there and not just have to like chop it off.
When we were doing our Tomb of Annihilation game and like in general our Roll20 Presents campaigns, we're very much like presenting the virtual tabletop version of this campaign and talking about like in specific why this is a good version and like really engaging with the virtual tabletop of it sort of thing. So there was we couldn't really bend the rules on like what was written. We were playing it very as written with a little improvisation from the players, and we moved right on to Dragon Heist after that.
Oh, okay.
But there was some talk about like, are we going to play different characters? Are we going to do X or Y or whatever? And I didn't really want to take Ishi back down to level 1 again. Like she'd had an arc and I didn't think it made sense to repeat that arc a second time. So I had a different character for the next campaign, and that's kind of how our games went. Is we just made new characters when there was another level 1 thing to do.
Yeah. Well, like I said, my games all take place in the same world, so like I will ask players, I'm like, you can still play that character, or you can make a new one. It is up to you. But I do want to give a heads up. We're gonna have a giveaway here in a little bit.
Yes, giveaway.
Keep an eye out in the chat. Oh yeah, Gabe's got it ready to go. It's gonna go up about 2 minutes, so keep an eye out in chat for the keyword. Put the keyword in, and you'll be entered for a chance to win 42 chests of your choice, excluding Bahamut chests. And that giveaway will be up for 2 minutes, and then it will be done. You can't do it anymore. But while they do that, I want to talk to you about streaming games, because you have a Twitch account.
I hope so.
Yeah. You're partnered, right? Is that?
Yeah, I'm actually a Twitch ambassador as well.
Nice.
I was in the first wave of Twitch ambassadors. The very first picks. Yeah, me. Yeah.
And that's twitch.tv/distractedelf, right?
It is twitch.tv/distractedelf. That's me. Yeah.
So how did you, like, I want to go back to the very beginning. How did you get into streaming games?
So originally the idea was, okay, there's a little bit of a backstory here.
Yeah.
So the year before I started doing online content, I lived in China. I moved there to teach English for a year. I saved up a ton of money while I was doing that. And then when I decided I was homesick and I wanted to come back, I did that. And I came back home and I had a bunch of money saved up. So I was like, well, what do I really want to do? I want to create content. So I thought, let's do YouTube. I'll do some YouTube stuff. And then didn't really give me the vibe I wanted. I wanted that instant feedback, and I did some Twitch stuff, and it felt really good to get that like very live reaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're sort of actually engaging with a chat that is engaged.
Yeah.
And I kind of just stuck with it since then. I mean, my gimmick, was the elf cosplay stuff. Originally, I was like costumed up as an elf every time. It's very hard to wear headphones when you have like the prosthetic ears, anime ears that come out like this. But so, that dropped off eventually. And I've just been kind of doing it since then. And a lot of my personal life has been tied up in streaming as well, in terms of like, I'm trans, and I did my whole transition on stream, basically. Like I wasn't out when I started, and then that all happened like during my streaming career, which is super cool.
Yeah, like it's you have like a like you can just go back and kind of see the
my old YouTube videos are very, very embarrassing.
That's wild. Well, so what were you streaming back at the beginning of this?
I did a lot of League of Legends.
Oh, okay.
And like MOBA stuff in general, I really enjoyed. I played some Dawngate, as we talked about. And by some, I mean I was wholly consumed by it while it existed. I kind of do variety, though I'm mostly sort of strategy and RPG stuff. I've done a lot of like XCOM 2 was a thing that like was like huge for me. We did a lot of like name all the soldiers after viewers and watch them die horribly, like kind of stuff. I did that for a long time. I mean, I've done lots of AP, like tabletop AP.
Yeah.
Some with people from my chat, some with other streamers. Like I've done lots of that stuff. I was around during I was doing actual plays at around the same time that like the first run of like role play was going. Do you remember role play? ROLL play?
Vaguely.
It's JP's thing.
Okay.
And I was doing like Pathfinder APs at the same time.
Okay.
As that, and I was doing like 3 or 4 a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just like really, really going for it. Which was super fun.
Were you DMing all of those?
I want to say yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and it was all in a connected universe too, so there was a little bit of that going on as well, with like connected parties and stuff that happens in one game affects the other game and stuff, and so on.
That's awesome. So what have you been playing recently?
Recently, like this month, I haven't done a whole lot because I'm recovering from surgery, so I don't sit at my desk a whole bunch.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm here for you, Trevor, and that's,
I appreciate you.
But so I'm in an actual play right now, but it's like supernatural high school RPG stuff.
Oh, cool.
Called the QT, and it's on the channel The Wandering Inn.
Okay.
So check that out if you want to. What else? I'm looking forward to Baldur's Gate. I'm gonna play a hell of a lot. I'm gonna play a hell of a lot of that.
I feel like Twitch is just gonna get overtaken by that game.
Yeah, I think some people will like it more than others. I'm like, the RPG vibe is not for everybody.
Yeah. I do think that there are some people that I've seen like tweeting about that game that I'm like, I don't know if you've played games like this, and I don't know if you are gonna be into this.
I mean, it'll be interesting. They definitely caught a lot of attention. Let's put it that
way. Yeah, we'll put it that way. Well, I did see when I saw your channel that you were playing the original D&D online.
Oh yeah. I should have.
How is that is a game that I've seen and never played.
One of my moderators, comment, messaged me and was like, so it's the 8th hardcore season of Dungeons and Dragons Online. Do you want to come and play in the hardcore season?
What?
So the 8th hardcore season.
Oh, okay.
So hardcore is like when you die, your character is deleted.
In an MMO.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, hell yeah, I want to do that. That sounds great.
That's wild.
And I don't really know a lot about DDO as a game, like Dungeons and Dragons Online as a game. So I kind of went in and then followed the advice of my friends, as I'm going through.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the super awesome, great drama of me tripping over a trap and exploding and then having to start back at level 1 and go again.
Oh no.
So I played practically every character class I wanted to, because you just get to rotate basically because you die, right?
Yeah.
I think my peak was a fighter at level 12. I think.
Wow.
Was my peak hardcore.
So someone put in the chat, it's DDO is great, parentheses, and also awful.
And also awful. I mean, it's obviously not designed for hardcore, right? No MMO is really designed for it. But it was super fun and just like a very engaging month.
Yeah, that's
ish. And I'll probably play in the 9th hardcore season when that starts.
I'll be honest, that like I've never I think I downloaded it once in like
what I will tell you is that game will play on any hardware at full capacity. So
oh really?
Go, right? Like,
I'll get it on my Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I that is intriguing enough that I might give that a shot.
Hit me up if you do.
Thing.
Hit me up if you do, and we'll link up. It'll be fun. I like it.
Because like that's like super old school, where it's like, oh yeah, no, your character just might die in the first session. You got to roll up a new one.
And also like there isn't a lot of recovery, right? So like if you're down, you're probably dead, right? Like so if your hit points hit 0. It's not like 5th where you're waiting for your death saves or whatever. Like there are death saves, but you probably just get double tapped by something or
well, didn't that game come out like during 3rd edition, like at the very tail end of it?
Although it's like a little bit between 3rd and 5th these days.
Yeah. Okay.
I will say that there are some great modules in it. Like there's a Ravenloft module, which is super fun. There's a Feywild module, which I had a lot of fun with. But the game is free nominally, but I would say you have to subscribe to really get like most of the content, because it's very like this corner of the game unlocks and this corner of the game unlocks, and it's all very like gated off in terms of the way that it works. So like a month of subscription is great. Like it just $15 and you play a hardcore season.
I'm sure I would die very quickly.
Yeah, and then you would make another character and die again. And
let's go.
I think I had like 25 characters. Like
oh my gosh.
Yeah, like every 2 or 3 days I think I died pretty much.
Oh wow. So in the chat said it came out February 2008. That was the
really
month
old.
My wife and I met. Like good really lord. That's so wild. Oh yeah, no, that's definitely one of them that I want to give a try. And I saw that
really
you were
fun. Highly recommend.
Go on there and mess around. Yeah, because I played Neverwinter. We had some folks from the Neverwinter MMO on the show a few weeks ago, and like I know that they're like very different games.
Okay. You say Neverwinter. My mind eventually went to Neverwinter Nights.
Yeah.
I know that's not what you're talking about, but sorry, you were gonna say something. I interrupted.
Oh no, it was just that I know that they're very different games. Like I think I tried D&D Online back in like 2011 when I first got into D&D.
Give it another try. It's good.
Okay,
it's good. There's a lot in it as well. Like
well, that's kind of the thing that I liked about it. Like I like these older MMOs now because they just have so much.
If they still exist, they have like a vast history. The other nerdiest thing I've done on stream is speaking of Neverwinter, is I play Neverwinter Nights, but play it online.
Yep, I remember that.
On persistent world servers, which are small MMOs basically. And these persistent world servers are in character, like role-playing servers.
Yep. And
I spent a good long time role-playing on a Ravenloft server for that. I don't do it anymore, but
my wife had a friend in high school.
Like D&D thing.
Yeah. My wife had a friend in high school that did the same thing. But the thing is, though, is at the time, they didn't mention that it was online, and my wife only knew about the first Neverwinter Nights, and they were playing the second one. And so they kept talking about these people, like they were her friends and stuff, and like my wife was worried. She
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, she's like she's saying that these digital people are her friends, but it turns out it was online, so it was
Yeah,
fine.
no, it's okay. It's okay, actually.
Yeah. So okay, we've got we got a couple questions while we were
Yeah.
talking here. Let's see. I'm not doing the first one. Cassius asked how I played Pokemon poorly. I meant the card game. I played the card game poorly.
I played it poorly by having 6 B drills.
Okay, that's a choice. That is a choice.
I don't regret it.
I will remind the chat, if you do have any questions for Viola about Ishi or anything like that, you can do question : and then your question in the chat, and our awesome mod Gabe will grab it and put a little text doc.
Yeah, or question about whatever. I don't really care.
What's your favorite order at Burger King? Imaginal Disc says, question: is there any intentional inspiration between Ishi and Reppy Cheap from the Voyage of the Dawn Trader? Tiny monster with courage and a desire to prove themselves is pretty similar.
So it sounds like that they have some through line, but I've never even heard of that thing. So unfortunately, no. But it does sound like if they're similar, then hell yeah. Like,
yeah,
good. I mean, tiny monster with a desire to prove themselves a hero is like kind of the vibe. Sure.
Yeah,
Scrappy fighter.
That name is so familiar, and I'm like, I'm sure I know what this is, and my old brain is just not working. Chronicles of Narnia. That's right. Okay, I was like, I
see, Narnia's a what do you call it? Like an empty spot in my nerd brain. I don't.
That's
know
fair. That's I had a 5th grade teacher that was like, I don't want to talk to you all today. Here's a movie, and I was like, this is the wildest thing ever. Santa Claus just gave a dude a sword. What is happening? Those books are wild. But Lauren actually has a question in here as well. For those who would like to try D&D online for the first time, what's your beginner first time advice?
My first time advice for DDO is I've only played hardcore, mind you. So,
that's wild. Like
I've only played hardcore.
You just went in the deep end.
Yeah. So like my first advice would be play a martial character to start. Because I feel like the magic characters are much more complicated and more likely to just explode for no reason. On hardcore.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter if you play softcore, obviously, but like a barbarian is a great starter class for hardcore.
Yeah,
and beware of traps. My other advice is if you want to know how to do it by yourself, and if you're like solo, want to try this MMO out, there's a YouTuber called Strim Tom who does basically DDO content. He's like the only guy who does,
wow,
like, DDO content.
It's like, this is my corner. I got this.
He has solo hardcore playthroughs from like level 1 to 20, basically, like all the way up, that you can just follow if you want to like see where you should be going or what you should be doing. That's a lot of what I did when I was like playing on my own.
I always appreciate when there's those videos where it's just like, oh no, this game's like really old. There might not be any. Oh no, people are still doing. Okay, there we go.
One holdout. You know what I mean? Still doing it. Yeah.
I love that. I've gotten through many a game because of folks that were doing that. There's always that joke of like, oh, I have a problem, and it's like, oh, thank God someone asked this question 7 years ago on Yahoo Answers. Let's see. This question is from the Insanity. Question: what's the difference between a gargoyle and a grotesque? Parentheses. This is for Elf. She knows what it means.
This is Insanity trolling me. Insanity's one of the people that I played DDO with when we were doing it. And I was like gonna die to this thing with gargoyles that was happening. I was like, panicking on voice chat, and Insanity goes, actually, they're grotesques. They're not gargoyles. It says gargoyle over their head. But he's like, gargoyles spout water. They have water spouts. Grotesques are just the statues that decorate things. So technically, these are grotesques because they don't have water spouts. And he's saying this while I'm dying. You know what I mean? Like save my ass. Like, why do I?
You're just reaching up. You're like, save me. Well, actually,
basically exactly that. Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, if only a will actually could heal.
So that's the difference. Gargoyles have water spouts and grotesques do not.
You know, today I learned. There we
There you
go.
go.
I took all of my information from Hunchback of Notre Dame in '97, and that's all I got. Uh, let's see. There was another one that I saw that just went by. Where'd it go? This is from Ink Corvid. Question: Do you happen, by any chance, to be writing your own tabletop game?
See, and Corvid already knows the answer to this because they're writing it with me. And yes, yeah, I am currently. So we're writing a game. It's called the Gloom Beneath, and it's currently in sort of beta playtest state. We're doing playtests right now, but it's basically deep elven politics in the caverns underneath the end of the world.
Oh wow.
So think like Menzo Baranzan and then take all the problematic garbage out of it and then like turn it into something cool and awesome. Like the surface has been destroyed, surfacer refugees have come down after this like god war. There isn't anything up there anymore, and now everyone must behave as needed by the houses of the gloom. And it's based on like Blades in the Dark. It's a Blades in the Dark rule set based game.
I love that.
And you play a deep elven house, hoping to rise through the political ranks to the Council of 13 eventually. And that's sort of the vibe. Yeah, because I really like all the drow stuff, dark elf stuff. And so we kind of got stuck into that on our own version. Yeah.
Very cool. So it's got like the flashback system from Blades in the Dark and everything.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that. Oh.
Yeah, it's very much like a lethal political game, you know, like there's a lot of so our 3 stat types are scheme, suffer, and sneer. Like the blocks, you know how there's like prowess and whatever? Yeah, scheme, suffer, and sneer.
I need a sneer check. That's so good.
Yeah, you use sneer to prevent people from using demean on you or resisting orate or whatever. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Great.
So you said that is it being built completely for that system, or like besides the names, are you doing any changes to mechanics?
Yes, yeah, no, so it's a different game.
Okay.
But we started as a basis with like the way that things are sort of aligned as Blades in the Dark. You know, you take the bones of something and then you build flesh on top of it, and it's not a reskin. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
It's its own game and it has its own mechanics. But it is solidly based in the Blades in the Dark vibe of like immediate action with certain levels of consequence and that kind of stuff.
So what made you want to like write your own game for that? Like, was it just like an idea that popped in that you couldn't get rid of, or?
Well, so we were playing Blades, and then our Blades group said, "What if Blades in the Underdark?" And then and then we went, okay. Because I don't know, I have a, when it comes to like D&D stuff and Pathfinder stuff in general and like that kind of world building, I really like that sort of nasty politics, dark elf, like stuff going on down there, and like that sort of evil bent to things that can be seen one way or the other, right? And then you think about trying to run that in D&D, and you just can't, right? Like, what are you going to do? I rolled deception. You fail. Now it's a 4-hour combat. Right? So it's sort of a game that gives you the vibes of that setting, that political machination, and backstabbing and traitorous intent and social climbing. But with its own like flow to it that facilitates that gameplay, right?
Yeah, that's cool. I always love hearing like how games come together, like when they're being made or the ideas for them come about, because it's always so fascinating the way that like folks will go, you know what, I'm gonna make a game. And I just think that thought alone is super cool.
So our lovely artist Bagladder has done a bunch of art for it. already.
Oh, cool.
And I can drop a link into the chat. Is that okay?
Put it
if I
into
do
the
that?
Zoom chat, and I'll put it in there because we.
Okay.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
just some like art concept stuff. There isn't any like rules, anything on the website or whatever. But it's
There we go. There you go, chat.
yeah.
Yeah.
Take it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I just went to the link.
Yeah.
That is gorgeous.
There you go. That's our lovely friend. He's one of our like development team.
I like
the art
the
on that. At Bagladder on Twitter.
I like the giant bat with all the candles. That's super cool.
Yeah, the bat dragon. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very cool. Well, Violet, we're actually at the end of our show because we got another show coming up after this. I know,
Hell
50
yeah.
minutes went by. But thank you so much for joining me today and talk with me about all of this stuff and learning more about Ishi. This was fantastic.
You're welcome.
Yeah. If people wanted to find you and what you do on the interwebs, where could they do so?
You can find me at Distracted Elf on Twitter or twitch.tv/Distracted Elf. And then from my Twitch, you can get to my Discord very easily if you want to join in there. It's on the nameplate stuff, whatever.
Heck yeah, you find out more about all that gloom and doom
yeah,
and all that stuff.
Yeah. If you're interested in the Gloom Beneath, hit me up and we'll talk. Yeah.
There we go.
We're doing playtests, like I said.
Ooh. Yeah, thank you again so much for joining me today and talking with that. You can get the Mythic Ishi skin right now in game. Don't forget to get Ishi looking all cool and everything while you go fight all those nasty monsters and whatnot. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of Idle Insight. So until next week, take care of yourself.